letting ourselves settle in. Finding that position that we probably generally take in this very spot, or if not, wherever we are seated. It becomes home. It becomes the home for our hearts, minds, and bodies. And we welcome each other, all of us in our various ages and ethnicities, our cultural heritage and religious background, the different socioeconomic groups we come from, and our abilities, our sexual orientation and our gender identity, coming together in all of our rich complexities, and practice the undertaking of studying together for the benefit of all beings and for this living earth, and acknowledge the indigenous peoples whose lands we are each seated on, tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Cowlets and the Federated Tribes of the Siletz, knowing that here around Portland, it's a community of many diverse Native peoples who continue to live and work here, and that we respectfully acknowledge and honor all the indigenous communities, past, present, and future, and very grateful for their ongoing and vibrant presence. And as we hold our ancestry in recognition, we also honor those who went before us, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, those Sanghas from generations and generations, hundreds and thousands of years, that have passed along the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings themselves that we can understand directly. And in honor and homage to the Buddha, the understanding of the truth that there is freedom from suffering, and that he was spending his majority of his life teaching others about it, that we might employ the simple yet challenging instructions that if we want to know the mind, we can sit down and look at it. And we want to do it with mindfulness. We want to have awareness of what's arising and passing. And so some of the way he taught was that we have an anchor that we can go to. It could be at the breath, at the nostrils, or we might notice the breath at the belly. We can also use a touch point, where the buttocks is sitting on the chair, or where we notice our back resting, or where we notice our hands touching, or our eyelids touching, or our lips touching. This touch point can bring us right back to our body awareness when we're lost in thought. And it can also bring us awareness of sensations, as can our breath. Sensations of tingling or warmth or coolness, or in the case of the breath, rising and falling away, which we soon discover happens on its own accord. But we want to stay present, to be with what's arising, to notice its impermanence. To help ourselves settle into the body, we may notice breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Or breathing out, I know I am breathing out. It's that quality of knowing, being aware of what's happening right now in this present moment. We may notice we very easily are lost in thought, which is fine. That's another one of the sense doors, the sense door of thought that the Buddha talked a lot about. We have hearing and smelling and tasting and touching and thinking. But none of them are stationary. Everything is moving. And so there's nothing that we need to grasp onto. We tend to grasp onto our thoughts because they're so prevalent. We really oftentimes tend to believe them. But we can't believe everything we think. We want to just be present and open, letting the body relax in its place. Let relaxation occur behind the eyes and in the jaw. Around the face, the lips, the ears, letting a sense of ease and calmness be suggested through the spine, across the shoulders, releasing and relaxing muscles around the back and the heart, the belly, the hips, letting that sense of ease flow through the legs, down to the feet, where once again we notice the floor, gravity, hardness, cool, or warmth, or softness, just being present where our attention is drawn. And as we lay this foundation of mindfulness being at the fore, awareness being present. We may notice the rising and the falling of the breath and be present for the in-breath. Be present for the out-breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And when we notice our attention wandering elsewhere, or maybe we don't even notice what's happening. We might be in confusion or just unawareness. We can begin right where we are. The moment we wake up into awareness, we can ask ourselves what's happening right now. Something might be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And we just continue, mindful moment after mindful moment. And if we find ourselves extremely tired or distracted or agitated, we can always just very mindfully and carefully stand up in place, or do slow walking somewhere in the room to bring the attention to the feet on the floor, further away sometimes than the busy thinking mind. Just touching the earth, feeling warmth and pressure if we choose to walk under our feet. And this continued awareness of the present moment helps keep at bay the hindrances sometimes, sloth and torpor, agitation, anxiety in the mind, sometimes doubt in the practice, or grasping, clinging, aversion, pushing away, as we tame and train the mind to be present for one moment at a time, as best we can, with gentleness and being at ease with it. We can develop concentration. And within that concentration comes spaciousness. But there's no rush for any of this. Everything that we're aware of in the mind is part of the practice. So we can return to the breath over and over when we find our minds wandering. Or we can return to that touch point. Or we can maintain the more spacious awareness of attention to the sense doors. Whatever arises at one of the sense doors, our awareness is there. In all of it, we're noticing when something is impermanent. We're noticing the three characteristics that we cannot grasp onto what we like. And we can't even push away what we don't like. That all conditioned things arise due to their own conditions. And we see this with the neutrality of mindfulness and awareness. Quickly passing by continuity of mindfulness, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment, without grasping or clinging. Some things are pleasant, some things are unpleasant. Some things keep our attention for a while, other things don't. But it's the constant changing nature and our awareness of it that helps us begin to understand the cause of suffering. The craving for things to be better, the craving for them to be different. And the neutrality of mindfulness keeps us slightly removed from falling into some of those repetitive, imaginative future thinking or ruminating of past thinking. We can always come back to the breath when we get confused, lost, distracted.
무슨年者来的？
And we may notice as we settle that the breath changes. Maybe there's a little less thinking as we pay attention to one object at a time. And we might even begin to understand a little more directly that wisdom arises. And we can notice just naturally when we let go of something that is not as skillful or as productive. And that wisdom can help us skillfully incline the mind toward loving kindness or compassion. Or maybe we can remember an intentional phrase that comes to us when we're letting go of thoughts that might cause harm to us or others. As we begin attending more to what's arising and passing away, we might often notice the arisal of emotions. We might actually notice in our thought forms alone how much we search for gratification. But we continue holding kindness and compassion for ourselves, for whatever comes and goes. We may begin noticing that there's really no solid sense of self as we see arising and passing away. Whether it's actions, whether it's emotions, we begin developing honesty with ourselves. We notice feelings that arise, and then we notice reactions that arise. And then the thinking process that sort of justifies the reaction. It's this honesty with ourselves that's so important. I was reading a commentary on the discourse of loving kindness, and it was with Sister Ayakema from her book, Being Nobody, Going Nowhere. And in it she says, another aspect of ruthless honesty with oneself is to admit when one has unpleasant feelings and cannot handle them. One recognizes that one is constantly in search of sensual gratification. That ruthless honesty makes it possible to diminish the ego a little. When one does that, compassion becomes a possibility. Real compassion, not just the word. The words are facile. They are available to anybody who can talk. Small children from the age of 6 upward can repeat the loving kindness discourse. It all sounds very nice, but what does it do? The repetition of the words cannot possibly bring about a feeling. Yet we live according to our feelings. That's why it's so essential to know our own feelings. We believe we can live according to our thinking, but we don't. First comes the feeling, then comes the reaction. Then the thinking process justifies the reaction. Understanding our feelings is of the utmost importance. It's of the essence. How can we ever know what it means to love or what it means to have compassion if we don't feel them? We may know about them, but can we ever actualize them if we don't feel them? She says liberation is not knowing. Liberation is not knowing, it is feeling. Everybody feels a me. Everybody knows his or her name. But everybody also feels that the name describes this special me. One can feel the self. So in order to get to non-self has to be felt too. And in this process of constantly attending to arising and passing away of every moment, we get closer to touching that sense of non-self, letting go of grasping and clinging, because we really directly know and feel the constantly changing nature of anicca. And we come closer to anatta, the sense of non-self, as we acknowledge dukkha, the suffering that arises when we cling and hang on to. And so we just begin again, keeping it simple, being kind to ourselves, holding ourselves gently, being at ease. May I be at ease. May I be with things the way they are. May I be at ease, aware of what's going on. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming like a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as the mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I know there is space deep inside of me. I am free. I love that from Teatime. And I like the way it was sung too, but my voice isn't very of singing quality today. And as we hold ourselves in this spacious awareness, the rising and the falling, whatever comes together in our mind state, the rising and the falling of our breath, may we hold ourselves in kindness. May I be at ease. No matter what's happening, may I have compassion for myself. And may I hold others in this heart space. Close friends, relatives, spouses, partners, children, animals, that they may be free from harm, safe and protected. Maybe there's specifically a couple of people that you have in your heart and mind right now that might be in pain in some way. Holding them and those who give them care in high regard. That all concerned may be free from harm, safe and protected. Taking care of each other happily. And may we let that kindness and that compassion, held with equanimity, flow to others that we don't know. Just as I wish to be happy, I know that you also wish to be happy. Maybe it's a particular person that you saw somewhere recently, but you don't know. Maybe you can visualize them, that they might be free from harm, have ease in their lives. And letting this sense of kindness, compassion, equanimity, to be with things as they are. May it spread out to others. People that we don't know. People in sorrow. Beings in joy. Those that are known and unknown, seen and unseen. Those in joyous realms and those in very challenging realms. Known and unknown, seen and unseen. Those beings that are realized and those beings that are not yet realized. May all beings be safe and protected, be free from harm, have ease and well-being. Anicca vata sankhara uparavaya domino upakita va meruchanti te samvapasamo Sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. Thank you so much for your practice. May it bring you joy, and may you remember that the merits of this practice are of benefit to all beings. No matter how wild and crazy our mind goes throughout our practice, the very fact that we're sitting together, we're looking at our heart and mind and making attempts to have non-harming for ourselves and others and have well-wishing for others, that we may all be free from our suffering. It is of great merit. So thank you.